Elias worked 2 jobs to keep life steady for his young daughter Mina. Every morning he tied her hair into a neat ponytail, packed a simple lunch, and walked her to school before rushing across town to the small mechanic shop where he earned just enough to cover rent and groceries. He had grown used to choosing what mattered most, and Mina always came first. One cloudy afternoon he left the shop after a long shift. His hands were still smudged with oil, and his legs ached from hours of standing. He stopped by the grocery store to pick up rice and a few apples, counting every coin in his mind as he walked through the parking lot. He was tired, but not unhappy. He felt a quiet pride in the way he carried his small world on his shoulders. As he reached his old hatchback, something caught his eye. His tool bag had slipped from the seat and one of the heavy wrenches had rolled out. When he bent to pick it up he froze. A sleek black sedan parked beside him had a thin white line along its side. He traced the mark with trembling fingers. The wrench had scraped the paint. His heart sank. The car looked expensive enough to cost more than everything he owned. He imagined the owner marching out, shouting, demanding money he did not have. Mina's face flashed before him. School fees were due next month. Rent had gone up. This would break him. He breathed slowly and reminded himself that fear never solved anything. He reached into his bag and looked for paper. He found a small receipt and smoothed it against his knee. Then he took out a pen that barely worked and wrote a short note telling the truth. He included his name, his number, and a simple apology. He slipped the note under the windshield wiper and left before he could talk himself out of it. He spent the entire evening replaying the moment. He pretended to listen as Mina told him about her class activity, but his mind was on the unknown driver who might call at any moment. When his phone finally rang at night he startled so hard he dropped a spoon. A calm voice greeted him. A woman. She thanked him for being honest and asked if they could meet the next morning to talk. Her tone carried no anger, only curiosity, which unsettled him even more. People with cars like that did not usually speak gently to people like him. The next morning he arrived early at the meeting spot, a quiet corner near the shop. A silver car pulled up and a woman stepped out. She wore a simple blouse and jeans and carried herself with an easy grace. Her dark hair was tied back and her eyes held something steady and observant. She smiled as she approached. Her name was Lena. She told him the sedan belonged to her company and that she handled it personally. Her voice never lifted in annoyance. Instead she asked about the scratch, the wrench, the moment he decided to leave the note. Elias answered with honesty. He explained that he could not afford repairs but wanted to do the right thing because he hoped Mina would grow up believing her father stood for something. When he mentioned his daughter, something softened in Lena's expression. She asked if she could see where he worked. He hesitated, then agreed. Inside the little shop she walked slowly, observing the scattered tools, the faded posters, and the way Elias moved with careful precision even during simple demonstrations. She noticed how the other workers respected him, how they asked him quiet questions about stubborn engines and tricky parts. After a while she asked if he had ever considered working somewhere with better pay. He laughed under his breath. Those places wanted certificates he could not afford. They wanted resumes filled with training he never had. She nodded as though she had been expecting that answer. Then she told him something that made him go still. She was the chief executive of a large automotive firm. The car he had scratched was not simply expensive. It was a company flagship model. Elias felt the room tilt. He waited for the blow he had feared since yesterday. Instead she asked if he could take a walk with her. Outside, leaning against the wall, she told him she saw more skill in his hands and more integrity in his actions than in many people she interviewed. She said people could be trained to handle machines, but not everyone carried honesty the way he did. She offered him a position on a new project. The work involved early testing and troubleshooting for engines still in development. The pay was more than he had ever imagined. The only thing he needed was a willingness to learn. Elias could barely answer. His throat tightened with disbelief. He thought of Mina, of the tiny apartment, of the nights he had skipped dinner so she could eat well. His eyes stung as he thanked her. Lena smiled and told him the scratch was already handled by the company's team, but she was glad he had left the note. She admitted she had been sitting in the car when it happened. She had seen the tool fall, seen him stare at the mark, seen him wrestle with fear and choose honesty anyway. She had waited to see what he would do. His choice told her everything she needed to know. The weeks that followed changed his life. Training was intense, yet he embraced it. He stopped taking extra shifts and spent more evenings helping Mina with homework. Their home felt lighter. Every so often he crossed paths with Lena in the company halls. They exchanged warm smiles that carried an understanding no words could fully express. She never treated him as someone she had rescued. She treated him as someone she trusted. One day, months later, Mina tugged at his sleeve and asked why he always smiled on the days he met with the kind woman from his company. Elias only said that sometimes life brings people into our path who see what we cannot see in ourselves. Mina accepted the answer with a grin and skipped ahead. Elias watched her and felt the quiet truth settle inside him. A scratched car had changed everything, not because of luck, but because a single small decision told the world who he was. And someone out there had been willing to listen.